Hi, my name is Lloyd Chapman, and I'm president and founder of the American Small Business League. I formed the American Small Business League several years ago when I realized that there wasn't a group in America to represent the interest of small businesses that do business with the federal government. I was working in a small business back in 2002 when we lost a small business set-aside contract to a company in Amsterdam with 26,000 employees in 27 countries around the world. I went to the SBA's database of small businesses and I found 600 of the biggest companies in the world, and I convinced the General Accounting Office to launch an investigation into it. They spent about 6 months on that investigation. When they were through, they found over 5,000 large businesses were getting government small business contracts. Well, that was over 6 years ago now. Since then, there have been, I think close to 15 investigations. I've been able to cause enough trouble that I've gotten probably 500 plus stories in the mainstream media. They've been on ABC, CBS, CNN. Our stories about the diversion of government small business contracts to Fortune 500 companies have been in every major newspaper in the country, hundreds of radio stations, and I guess hundreds of stories on the internet. But there's one problem. It's still happening. So 6 years after I first uncovered it, 500 stories, 15 investigations, it's still going on. And I guess that's because the Fortune 500 corporation that I think are getting up to $100 billion a year in government small business contracts have more clout in Congress than you and I do. I'm hoping we can work together and change that. Right now, a nation's facing one of the worst economic downturns in 100 years. And middle-class America needs these contracts more than ever. And not only has Congress not adopted legislation to stop it, but I'm predicting that the new administration, the Obama administration, may be trying to create another loophole that will divert even more government small business contracts to venture capitalists. So I think if you spend 15 minutes on the internet and do some research about who's fighting for small businesses that do business with the federal government and prime contractors, you'll find the American Small Business League is the only organization that's really doing anything. If you think any other group in America is doing something, go to their website and see if you can find any stories that they've gotten in the national media about that. I can guarantee you won't find any. Every story that's in the press about the diversion of government small business contracts to large companies was generated by the American Small Business League and our members. So I ask you to join the American Small Business League and help us save these programs. I believe these programs are under attack, and there are a lot of people in Washington that would like to see the Small Business Administration close and see these programs ended. One of two things is going to happen. I've exposed the fact that Fortune 500 companies are the actual recipients of most government small business contracts. You can see that on our website, ASBL.com, and all the different stories. So one of two things will happen. The government's going to clean this up, and those funds will be redirected to legitimate small businesses, or else they're going to end those programs so the large corporations can keep the contracts. You can guess which option the large corporations want, and they've got a lot of clout in Washington. So I can tell you right now that the Fortune 500 corporations that are currently getting the lion's share of federal small business contracts don't want to turn loose of them. Again, we think it's $100 billion a year. And can you imagine how much money they're spending lobbying, trying to stop us from bringing an end to the diversion of government small business contracts to corporate giants? You may have already heard the story. In February, Barack Obama came out and agreed with us and released a press release that said it's time to end the diversion of federal small business contracts to corporate giants. That was on February 22nd. My guess is on February 23rd, he got a phone call from the corporate giants because he has dropped any mention of that. If you go to his latest change.gov website, you will not find any mention of Barack Obama's February 22nd statement to stop the diversion of government small business contracts to corporate giants. These guys have got a lot of money. And if we work together, I think the small business community can bring about change. But so many small businesses we talk to are just terrified. They're just afraid if they say anything or do anything or join any group, they're going to get blacklisted and their contracts will be canceled. Nothing could be further from the truth. You want to be heard. And as I like to tell people, don't be afraid of the government. Make the government afraid of you. That's how this country was founded. This country was founded by a bunch of guys, quite frankly, I would imagine like me. They're not afraid to speak out and rebel and fight the status quo. And it really bothers me that, quite frankly, most of the small businesses I've talked to, and I've talked to thousands, are afraid to do anything. And I would say that if I went back and looked at the small businesses that I talked to 5 years ago, most of them aren't in business anymore. So the thing that you should be afraid of is not doing anything to fight for these programs that you have the right to participate in the way Congress intended when they passed the Small Business Act in 1953. So don't be afraid, be heard, contact your congressman, your senators, the media in your area, and let them know how these programs are affecting you. And a lot of people don't even know it. But when you are working with the federal government and prime contractors, they're bidding you against divisions of Fortune 1000 corporations and even companies in Europe. And they're not telling you that. Just say, oh, you didn't win. What they're not telling you is that you had no hope of winning. And they knew that when they contacted you or allowed you to participate in that acquisition. So join the American Small Business League and help us fight for this. And help us lobby Congress and help us contact the media and get the word out on this. So our mission is very simple. We don't think Fortune 500 corporations should get government small business contracts. And I've never met anybody that did. So join us, help us fight, and let's end this once and for all. I'm Lloyd Chapman with the American Small Business League. Thank you.